From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Beres here on a Tuesday. How are you? You doing okay? Well, listen, we're going to get the phone lines going. As I said yesterday, we're going to be talking about Social Security. What I mean is I mentioned it yesterday because I know a lot of you have questions. You can think about it. You can spread the word if you have a question about Social Security benefits, disability, SSI, the appeals process, whether or not you need an attorney to go through it. The same old routine that we've talked about for years, and we continue to help people. And I imagine this show, singularly, has helped more individuals than any other regular show we've done in the history of MorningLine. And that's a pretty tall statement considering some of the things we've done. But so many of you get a chance to call in and ask your questions specifically to an expert from Social Security. And this is your chance. You're not going to be on hold very long, and you're not getting a recording. The number is 737-7587. If you want to jump in with me this morning to talk about it, I'm not the one, even though I think I can answer a lot of their questions. But you're the expert. Josh Horn from Social Security here in town. How are you, Josh?
Good morning, everyone.
I have learned a lot about so. I remember when we first started doing the show, and I was much younger before, at the point where you're like, you know what, Social Security, what do I care? And most young people don't, even though there's something to be said for paying attention to it earlier and earlier. But now I understand people of all ages should, if not for yourself, for loved ones who are aging, and keeping a track of what's there. And God forbid if you become disabled or something, what's out there, right?
That's right.
I mean, the Social Security can provide services, age range from what? Children all the way up,
well,
right?
Considering we also administer the SSI program, which affects children at birth. So we like to say, we cover everybody from the time they're born to the time they die. So and their loved ones after that. So
something to think about. And there's all different aspects. I don't know if you've been with Social Security for how many years now?
About 14.
14 years. How about that? And do you find, either from calls that come into your office or folks that talk to you when you run into them and they ask you what you do, is there any common misconception at all in your mind about Social Security? I mean, that people have that, oh, well, I'm not going to get my Social Security when I retire. Is that the biggest one? They think it'll never be there?
Yeah, right now the biggest one is it's going away, and then I'm not even going to have Social Security when I retire, which is a misconception. It
could be less, though, right?
It could be less. Right now, if nothing's done, they say about 70% of benefits will be payable when the trust fund runs out. There's a few rumors and things. Sometimes we get letters from prisoners who feel like they're going to get Social Security when they get out just because they get out of prison. Well, there's no benefits for prisoners just getting out of prison. We get letters like that about.
What do you mean? Like they think, now, if you're someone who's worked all your life and then you commit a crime, you go to jail. You're not earning, but when you get out and you reach age, you get your Social Security based on your prior work history.
Yeah, but you don't get out. You don't get a benefit just because you get out of prison.
Who on earth would think you get a benefit for serving time?
I used to go and visit the prisons for Social Security and give a speech to the pre-release classes, and that would, every single class, they raised their hand and said, what about that? And it was always a different number, $2,000, $5,000, $1,000, $500.
A one-time payment?
Benefit that I get when I get out of prison. And I said, there's no such thing with Social Security.
Who on earth ever said that? Yeah,
exactly. And then there's just the fact that a lot of folks don't understand how many different programs. I mean, we've got retirement, we've got disability, we've got survivor benefits, benefits for your children and spouses. A lot of folks that I talk to, especially that are younger, that don't really know much about Social Security, they say, well, I know I've got a Social Security card, and that's about all they know about Social Security.
Right. Explain again the death benefit again. I always am intrigued by that.
Yeah, there is a holdover from when Social Security first started, and that's the one-time lump sum death benefit. It's $255.
Who can apply for that?
The surviving spouse or minor children.
All right, so if I were to pass away, my wife could apply for $250 from Social Security. And I would imagine most people don't know about that, but as you've told me in the past, if you decide to have a funeral service, as most people do, the funeral homes know about that, tell you, and of course that's something that they figure could help pay their fee. Right?
Exactly.
Which is nowhere going to come close to what the fee is for most funeral homes, by the way. But
most of the time the funeral homes will let you know to go and apply for that if nothing else.
Do it. Most people do apply if they've got the means for that. That's just interesting. There's so much to it. Well, I always like to start the show. Was there anything that you kind of wanted to hit on? The thing about Social Security, except for rare instances, it's status quo. I know they tinker with it in D.C., but it's status quo. But anything new you want to hit people with?
Yeah, just we're seeing a lot of folks come in right now for replacement Social Security cards, either for themselves or particularly for their children with school starting back up. And there's a lot of folks trying to get new jobs. There's a couple things. Number one, we have to have identification for you, which is a driver's license typically, and we're not allowed to use the paper IDs that are issued by the state because they don't have all the security features on there. So we either have to wait for a hard card or look for an alternative ID, but typically we have to have that driver's license or state issued ID card. And we also have to have ID for your child if you're trying to get a replacement card for your child, and we cannot use a birth certificate. Have a lot of folks coming in who say, well, yeah, here's my ID, proof of ID for my child, and it's a birth certificate. And unfortunately, they consider that proof of birth, but not proof of identity. Proof of identity for a child would be hospital records, shop records, doctor's records, or probably the best thing is a health insurance card if you've got that. And we have to have that to get a replacement card for the child. So I hate to turn people away after they've waited for however long because they don't have the proper IDs. The other thing is that they're rolling out online Social Security replacement cards, and it's a fantastic program in the states that it has rolled out for. I think Mississippi and Kentucky are the two closest states that have that option, but Tennessee's not there yet. So I've had a lot of folks come in saying, well, I tried to apply for a replacement card online, but I can't do it. That's coming.
It's not here yet.
But it's not here quite yet.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know. It'll be here, what, later this year?
I'm hoping sooner than later. That's going to be really convenient.
Very cool. All right, you know, let's just take a call before we have to take our first break. Real quick from Ann. Ann, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Ann.
I applied for my disability, and I've been denied twice, and I've just had my hearing, and I've been waiting about 5 weeks. If it is approved and I get a lump sum back payment, is that taxable? That has me concerned.
Yeah, and so the tax rules, those are IRS rules, and typically it has to do with how much your adjusted gross income is for the year. So the best answer I can give you is that it's possibly taxed, and it's actually the combined income. So if you file as with a spouse filing jointly, then their income is counted in, and it can possibly be taxed.
Okay, so now let me ask you a question, Ann, if it's okay. One, have you been appealing on your own, or do you have an attorney? I'm just curious.
I'm using a nonprofit organization for disabled.
Good for you. All right. And then the other question, just and I understand, I'm confused like she is to some degree. All right, if you just have Social Security as your income and she needs it, she has this disability, I mean, if that's it, is Social Security unto itself taxable if there's no other income along with it? I mean,
it kind of depends, typically in disability situations, normally not, because if that's the only income you have, and typically that's not very much. Now, some of the folks that, draw retirement and they've got the maximum amount, that could possibly be, but the numbers with that, if you're filing individually and your combined income is more than $25,000 for the year, or if you're filing jointly and it's more than $32,000, for the year, that's when at least part of your Social Security could be taxed. And so those are kind of the tax rules that IRS laid out as far as if your Social Security is taxable. Yeah,
meaning that it's part of your total income, and so it gets taxed. And again, when you get to retirement age, and that was not her call, but you do, and you draw your Social Security like my folks do. I think my dad gets about $2,000 a month, something like that. And then he had some other funds that come in, the total income he makes a year, then that could be taxable based on what his income is. That even though he's no longer working, he has some of these funds coming his way. All right, and we should clarify for folks, if you're wondering, just so you know, people like Ann, you apply for Social Security, right?
Right.
You're denied. Then maybe you're denied a second time, months and months pass, but let's say the third time's a charm, you get it. You get all that back pay from when you originally applied, correct?
If you keep after your appeal, if you keep appealing it, if you let your appeals period go,
then you start over from scratch.
And you start over from scratch, then you're not. But in this situation where you went to the reconsideration level, then you went to the judge, and it may take a couple years, you're going to be protected back all the way to when you first contacted us, and and based on what the judge says, you can be paid for all that time.
Yeah, that's one of many things I've learned from you over the years. When you're applying for Social Security and there's denials, don't just quit and then maybe come back to it later. Don't give up. Keep going. If for no other reason, when you finally do win, if you do, you get that back pay. And that can be a chunk of change. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, good question, Ann. We've got Thomas, Angela, and others. The lines are open, 737-7587. So, the big man here, ready to answer your questions. We're going till 9 o'clock. Take advantage of it, spread the word, and join us. We'll be right back.